Hello, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. This is a representation of LeFlore's On Trust introduction, parts 1 through 19, but as you see from the banner, parts 1 through 20. There will be an additional part added at the very end, which will be a recent video that I'll record with Anne. But I'm reproducing the 1 through 19 series on trust. People have asked why it's not available anymore. So I'm going to go back and edit each and every one of them for you. Again, as always, Anne did write this wonderful book. Let me get that background out of the way for you. Right here on trust. It's available at thefearlessfloydshow.com. Everything that you're going to see is available. Here's the book. You can get the ebook or the soft cover. Revocable, irrevocable foreign charitable remainder, college education, land and express trusts. And then we have the specialty trusts. So if you are really into trusts, this is the addendum that you would need. And of course, the classes that were the seeds for the books. And of course, tailor-made trusts featuring every trust that Anne has created. Here's a handful. And here, of course, is the DNA addendum to capture your DNA. That's very important this day and age. And here are some more. And again, the final ones. And with that, I'll start the video.
Hi, my name is Anne, and I live in an island called Tahiti, French Polynesia. I live on the main island of Tahiti. When I was first contracted to come back to France was 38 years ago. They asked me to come back and install the internet. See, I left France when I was a child to go to America to learn how to read and write in English. And then I spent quite a large time in America. That's why my English is so well. But I also grew up in a household where we spoke two languages. We spoke French and English because my mother's American. So from there, I started working for the government and I installed networks around the world. And these were networks that connected to criminal profiling, believe it or not. And it also was information networks. So we installed them, throughout the world because it used the private internet, which you guys had no idea was even there. And we had cloud services, T1 carriers, fiber optics, way before it even became public. So it was an amazing adventure. So when I basically was almost done with my contract with the government for 20 years. And they asked me to come to Tahiti for the last 2 years to install the internet here, which meant that I would be configuring the hubs, the routers, and the IP addresses and configuring the internet. Well, when my contract ended, they asked me to stay on. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. So I opened up my own business here. That led into a lot of different things, in the increment. But I think it was a year and a half ago, I was doing the news with Mickey on her channel, The Great Awakening. And I was her news commentator. I would go on once a week and we'd do a new big news brief. And I became really good friends with Mickey. And she was explaining to me about some issues that she had with her school board. And I was saying, well, how can the president of a school board literally, take all people's personal information and store them on a Google Drive and then use it against them as blackmail? I said, it's not even possible. And she says they'd filed court cases, they'd filed police reports, and everything comes back, oh, it's public information. Well, I'm sorry, your social security number, your mortgage loans, and your banking information to me is not public information. Right. And I'm like, no, there's got to be something wrong.
Right. Yeah. Let me pause you right there.
because you kind of jumped ahead of people who have no idea who Mickey is.
Oh,
So tell everybody who Mickey is, and that way they can wrap their head around on how you got where you are here today.
okay. Well, Mickey is a fantastic person. She started out with her adventure in this Great Awakening. And from there, we've advanced to many different avenues in the Great Awakening, like doing the news, informing people what was happening in the news. And then we started a project together called Bonds for the Win. And that came out of me helping Mickey understand what school boards were doing and why her president was allowed to do what he was allowed to do at the school, and nobody would do anything about it. He literally was collecting information during these mask mandates or the mandates at school, where parents were trying to stand up and fight for the rights of their children. And he would blackmail them with his father and literally put information out, you know, all over the place, or he would use it in emails or something like this. And I said, something's wrong. There has to be a remedy for this if the police won't do anything. And a few days later, I was on Telegram and I found something from SGT reports about a man in Ohio who stood up against the school board using bonds. And I said, oh my God, that is fantastic. How do they work? So I started digging into bonds and I started researching about bonds. And Mickey was so excited about the project, we entered the project together. We started Bonds for the Win. And we started it, I think it was like last September. We started, formulating the website, getting all the information up, putting everything out. And then it was around October, November, I started to contact people that I saw on Telegram that were having problems with school boards. And I asked them if they wanted to try this. And it was a simple process of just filing a letter of intent against the board. And this is the same thing as a redress of grievances that we can file against any government official. So the people decided to try this. Once we had 3 wins and we knew the process was working, that's when we went out public with it and we started to push it out publicly. And we started to get a lot of people involved in the school boards, school board meetings, filing the letters of intent with the school boards, understanding what bonds were, how they could obtain the bonds, and how they could use the bond for rectification or a remedy against what was happening to them. And the project was really a great success because just the letters of intent alone literally freed over, I think it was 500,000 or it was an astronomical amount of children. So in the process of Bonds for the Win, we found out that the bonds that these school boards are under are absolutely ridiculous. Let's say we have a school board and the president of the school board says that the other 4 members need to be bonded. But what they do is they literally go to the bonding company and they take out the bond. The school board takes out the bond. And all they do is put the member's name on the bond. And then afterwards, they're the beneficiary of the bond. So they're the only ones who can file against the bond. So that is fraud in itself. And the second thing we found out doing this, we exposed the 2 frauds that are happening with bonds and insurance policies. They will get a insurance policy, which is a contract or what we call a PrEP, P-R-E-P. So it's a conglomerate of 4 or 5 different companies together that form an insurance policy. And inside the insurance policy, they will have a bonding clause for the people inside the policy. Inside that policy, what literally it's saying is if you break the law, tough luck. You're on your own. We don't cover it. So we had to, I had to really dig into insurance policies to find out how we could use an insurance policy to file claims against these people. So it was an exciting adventure. We uncovered all kinds of insurance fraud. We found out that the insurance companies will not accept claims against anybody who they insure, that you literally have to go through risk management, because risk management will deny everything. Because if we look at the hierarchy of the governments, all risk management has been moved under the Attorney General. So if we file a claim with risk management, all he does is shoot it up the ladder, right up the, right up next door to him, goes to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General sends back a letter, I'm sorry, you can't file a claim. So it was an adventure in itself, if I had to say so myself, but it did expose so much of the government corruption that we're seeing today.
Right. Okay. Well, you kind of dove off your own little bio there into Bonds for the Win and your research there, but that's fine. So let's get back on track with you, how you met Mickey, how you got from Bonds for the Win to here today.
Okay. I met Mickey through a group on Telegram. It was a Great Awakening group that we were discussing the new awakening, that's what's happening around the world, how people are waking up to figure out who they are and where we're going in the future. And it was sort of a really great experience because it taught you how to dig into yourself, how to release the ego, release the traumas, release everything that was in your past to bring you to who you are today, which is a spiritual being. Mickey was in the group, and one day I was speaking about some of the information that was out in the news broadcasting, and Mickey invited me to her station and asked me if I would do the news presentation with Mickey. And this is what started our relationship together and working together for quite some time.
Okay. So, what is your end goal in all this research you're accumulating for yourself?
Okay, my end goal for me is not a personal end goal to recover money, charge anybody for anything. It's to find the truth. And that's all I think anybody should be doing right now, is looking for the truth. I want the truth to be known. I want to let people understand where all this confusion is coming in. We see so many people out there who are, pushing out your birth certificate is a fraud. It's not your birth certificate. We're seeing state national groups out there saying you have to change your status and your standing in order to have anything in this world. Well, that's not really correct. People are missing the biggest point of everything. With investigating all of this, it all turns around and it comes back in a full circle. We have to have trust in our fellow Americans, trust in our fellow mankind. Everybody has to have trust in somebody. And it all comes back to bonds. Bonds are your word. Everything you say, it's a bond, it's a guarantee, it's a promise. So when I started figuring out the connection between trust and bonds, I started looking more into the trust side of how things are working and how trusts are created. Because we do understand that birth certificate, everybody's saying it's a cesticate trust. Actually, it's not. Actually, the birth certificate is your estate. Because when they stamped and sealed it, it literally was a document to use to create the will to go into probate. It's actually a probate document. And this is what the birth certificate is. It's your estate. And people are trying to get rid of that document when in fact they should be using that document to clear up the estates and to take authority over their estate, because there is different types of birth certificates. If we use the birth certificate that literally is a certified live birth certificate, we already have part of our estate created for us. Then all we have to do is step into that estate and claim the executor of the estate. And then it's just learning how to use the estate and how to move titles, because everything we do is a title. You have a title. Every time you use your signature to sign any document, it creates a new title. So we have to realize that everything is done in the private or the public. So everybody continues to work in the public when in fact they should not be doing that. They should actually be working in the private. And I just want to teach people how to understand what is public, what is private, how to move titles, and how to get access to the credit to pay off the debt. Because every time we send in a check, we send in a payment, automatic withdrawal from our bank account, it's considered double debt. We're just doubling the debt of the US government, which gives them on the balance side of it. So we have the balance, we have the credit side and the debit side, and credits and debits always have to balance. So the more debt we create, the more credit they have, and the more access to funds we give them. So if we can learn how to offset the debit side by using the credit, we're taking away their money and we're actually using it to pay off the debit.
Okay.
Am I going in the wrong direction?
No. I mean, you're giving everybody a breadth of your intellect and research. But I have just one issue with what you said about the debt, that we compound the debt, because we're not really compounding the debt per se, because we can't create money. The government creates money by borrowing it from the Fed. But what we do is not, I mean, hyperinflation, the currency would be kind of the wrong terminology, even though that's what they use. It would actually be deflating the currency, giving it less and less value. So your purchasing power of the dollar, as opposed to 50 years ago, was 75%. Today it's 3%, simply because we keep compounding the debt behind that dollar and decreasing the value of that dollar. We're not increasing the debt. The government's, they're more than happy to do that for us.
Okay, I think the part of the debt I'm talking about is the debt that they put out. You know, how many trillions of dollars American is in debt. So every time we go to the market and we use our credit card and we use their promissory notes, which are the US Treasury notes, what we do is we're adding to the debt side of their numbers, and they're receiving the credit side of it because we're not accessing it to put it over on the other side. We're actually giving it to them.
Okay. Yeah, we are. All right. Anything else that you want to add? Because basically this video is strictly on the introduction of Anne, even though I said it was going to be on trusts at the very beginning. So, but we are going to do an individual video for part one of the trust after we conclude this video.
No, I think that's pretty much what I need to say. I mean, it kind of wraps up my huge life all into a short sentence or a few sentences.
Yeah. You know, I mean, how much, we could sit here all day talking about our lives. Anne does periodically pop into my Telegram group. So if you guys, want to pick her mind, jump in my Telegram group, become a member, post in there that you want to open up the chat and do a discussion or have a question or something like that. If time is available, so somebody will, do all that for you, jump on and we'll get the chat done.
And I'll be back with parts 1 through 20. I don't know how often I'll put them out, but I will try to get one out, every day or so. So look for them. They're coming. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate you. If you need anything, again, go check out the fearlessfloydshow.com store or just send me an email, fearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com. I appreciate you. Y'all have a great week. Thank you for hanging around after the show. I want to present to you Tailor Made Trust, featuring LeFlore's Trust Series, available at tailormadetrust.com, as well as the fearlessfloydshow.com store. Here are a handful of the available trusts that can be built, custom tailored to your needs and desires. 25 different trusts, plus the DNA Trust Addendum. And as always, LeFlore's classic trusts and ancillary classes, and also Ann's books on trust and specialty trust, which I also co-authored. If you'd like to get a class, a book, or have a trust custom built for you, always available at the fearlessfloydshow.com store. And I'll see you in the next show. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.